Hello, everyone. Well, you're listening to another episode of Let's Talk Sports with Tim McKain, and today I have the very pleasure of interviewing Chris Lefty Lopez, 9-2, as a retired professional mixed martial artist. He is the owner of Top Shelf MMA. How you doing today, sir?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So, um, Chris, when did your love for the fight game begin?
I think I always liked combat sports. Growing up, like in San Antonio, where I'm from, boxing's a big deal. Back in the '90s, boxing was really big back then. So we would always grow up watching those fights. So I think I just kind of grew up around liking combat sports. As I got older, I kind of used it as a way to kind of stay out of trouble. I think
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, born in San Antonio, were you also a Spurs fan?
I was a big Spurs fan. Actually worked for one of the Spurs for a little while, so
Yes,
big
sir.
fan of them.
That's amazing.
Not so much anymore. I don't keep up with basketball, but I was living there when they were winning and growing up, so it was a little different.
I mean, they were winning back in the day. They're not winning so much more. I'm not gonna lie to you. As someone who was a Laker fan, I never really liked the Spurs.
Nah, I get you. I ain't tripping. So there's acquired taste, I guess. Some people like them, some people don't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, what led you to start actually fighting, not only as a mixed martial artist, but actually training as a boxer?
So it's funny. I used it as a way for me to get kind of I was like 20, 21 years old, kind of like adolescent, not adolescence, but you're kind of at that age where you start, going out more, doing socializing, partying and stuff. And I had a really good job at a young age. So I only worked half the month. So it was kind of when I was young, I was kind of wild. So getting in a little bit of trouble led me to a boxing gym
Mm.
as a way to kind of spend my time somewhere else. When I went into the boxing gym, I was always a heavier set guy. I was like 290 pounds, and
Yeah.
I just started training. And the year after I started training, I won the Golden Gloves. The year after that, I won the Golden Gloves again, and I was about 23 already, and I kind of knew, I wasn't gonna be really successful, as a boxer. So what I mean by that is the really high level boxers are guys that have been doing it their whole lives. Me, I
Mm.
was more of like like a fighter, like a good fighter, but there's only so far I was gonna go with me. I had a little bit of shoulder problems and stuff like that.
Mm.
So that's kind of what led me to go to a MMA gym. So I'm like, I won't be having these issues. Like my shoulder used to dislocate. I had avid injuries throughout my career with my shoulder and my knee. But I found I was like, well, maybe I'll just go to MMA and it won't be as bad. I won't be punching as much. It made no sense because it's just as bad. But that's kind of
Yes, sir.
what led me to MMA and to training. Is
Well, actually, I have a two-part question for you, Chris. So, for one, you won a Golden Glove
Yep.
after 3 months of training. What was that experience like, just winning after just 3 months of training? And then secondly, um, looking at some of the boxers now, like Deontay Wilder and others who were like football players who didn't necessarily have that training background in boxing but had success. If you were maybe a younger kid in that Deontay Wilder's prime, looking at him and his success, would you have considered boxing for a longer period of time?
Honestly, the only reason, well, the first question, actually, it was a little bit longer than 3 months. I think I might have just stated it wrong. I trained for about like 6 months, and it was a super novice division. Super novice divisions, a lot of backyard guys that just think they're gonna fight until they get beat up. So I ran into some weekend warriors. It was a pretty easy tournament my first time.
Oh,
Second time was really like when you start going into open and novice divisions. That's when you start stepping up with the kids that are really experienced. And I was older and I'm fighting kids, so
mm.
but good kids. And like when you have like boxing is a little bit different. I hope I don't get off topic here, but like boxing, you run into kids that have 100 amateur fights.
Right.
I was already 20 something years old and I only had like four. So that's where I looked at my career like, all right, I might not make it as far doing this, but I can do MMA. MMA is a little different. I was like, if I could pursue it, I could catch on, and it's not, you're a specialist in MMA. I mean, in boxing. And I'll give you an example of what my thought process. This is what my thought process is, and this is what it was when they matched up Mayweather and McGregor. A boxer compared to a boxer is someone that's been doing the same craft every day their whole life, whether if they're a kid. Like Mayweather done that since he was a baby.
Yes.
Like literally since he was a baby. Um, that's the only craft he ever knew. He never knew MMA. He doesn't know jiu-jitsu. So when that matchup happened, I said, he's going to gas Connor out, like with his arms, and he's going to get him tired. And then the boxer's going to take over. And that's what it happens. And that's just kind of what my thought process was when I was 22 to 24. I'm like, I'm already older. Like I might have a little bit of shoulder issues in my jab side. Let me get it fixed and let me go look at what I can do with jiu-jitsu, because I was really aggressive, and it just, I kind of did both and kind of just faded off from boxing as I started doing more jiu-jitsu. But I always worked with a boxing coach. Like my whole career, I've probably had coaches that they're like, dang, you work with him, dang, you work. Yeah, I worked with all those guys. Like I worked with Regis Prograis' team at the end of my career. Bobby Benson cornered me throughout the end of my career. My last, I want to say, about 4 fights. Before that, I had the privilege of being around all that. So I just looked at it two different ways. I'm more of a realist, Like if I was like 18, it'd be different. But
Okay.
I was already 24, 22 to 24, like a little beat up already, you know what I mean? And I wasn't looking at it like a full-time profession. When I started doing amateurs in MMA, I started thinking maybe I can do this full time because it's different. And
Yes, sir.
that's where I ended up.
Yes, sir. So how did you use your boxing to help you in your mixed martial arts fights?
How did it help me?
Yes, sir.
I think the distance. I learned to catch a lot of people with my left hand, and I think it's just you learn these basic fundamentals. Like I don't want to be too in detail, but you learn basic fundamentals. Like if you're a lefty and a righty, you learn from a boxing coach. Like you keep on the outside of each other, like to stay away from their straight punches. Well, a lot of MMA coaches ain't that savvy. Like they're
Mm,
not boxing coaches. So like
right.
basic fundamentals that you learn from good coaches as a boxer, you can carry them over. And if you look at some of the better strikers in MMA, like they're really crisp boxers. And
Mm,
Dustin Poirier, he's a really good boxer. He's with a really good boxing coach. Jorge Masvidal, he can box. Um, I can go on all day. Connor can box.
yeah.
It's
Yes.
just it's just different levels. 12 rounds when you're just throwing nothing but punches, it's different.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes,
I was
sir. The reason why I asked that is because like in when the Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather situation happened,
yeah.
of course we all knew that Floyd Mayweather was going to win, but then they said if you put Floyd Mayweather in the octagon, he's going to get beat. Why do you think that the MMA community, they're like, oh, they could always beat a boxer in a street fight because a mixed martial artist has multiple styles of fighting, whereas a boxer, they only have hands
In a street fight?
in a street fight?
So here's the thing. So I'm a realist, like I said. If you put Floyd Mayweather in an octagon, he's gonna most likely he's gonna get submitted. Okay,
Exactly.
because those guys are fighters. Now you put Floyd Mayweather and the best UFC fighter out there in the open in a street fight, and they start throwing punches first. I'm not gonna bet that he's gonna lose either. Now, if he falls down, he's probably not gonna get up. But I'm just not gonna bet. I'm just not gonna bet on that kind of fight because that's not the same as being in a cage. Do you understand? It's a little
Yes.
bit different when you're out in the open. But that's just me looking at all the scenarios. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
what I don't like is that they say, okay, well, he should, if he came over, he'd get beat. Yeah, he would. but he never said he really would. He did it to gas you up. He never said he really would. He's not gonna do that. He,
No.
So why y'all so worked up in the first place? He ain't gonna
It's,
ever do that.
no, it would be terrible for his career. I
Yeah.
agree.
So
Um, who were some of the greatest battles? Who are your greatest rivals in the octagon that pushed you to your next level?
I didn't really have like a rival that I fought that everyone was like, oh, they like I fought him twice or anything like that. I was more motivated by myself. As far as my come up though, I had rivals in the gym all the time. And what I meant by that is I didn't have rivals. I had everybody that I was around from the time I started training MMA. I went full time pretty much right away when I decided to do MMA. And I was always around really good guys, UFC caliber guys, guys that were fighting on big shows. And I was always the kid, the guy trying to come up. So like for me, my rival was in the gym. It wasn't really a rival, but they were fighting me every day. We were fighting every day. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So when I went out here to these other fights, they didn't feel the same. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I didn't really have anyone in my career where it was like a battle, like a heated battle. Like I had like we fought more than once and we didn't like each other. Like I didn't have anyone out there that I was thinking about. I was just trying to climb.
Yes,
But
sir.
but having UFC guys in the gym every day, if you show up to a gym, it's a fight every day. So they're not your rivals, but they're gonna fight you until the round ends, and then they're your friends again. And when you're in that environment every day, the fight comes easy. So
Yes, sir.
hope
Yes,
that
sir.
makes sense.
Well, I want you to speak on that MMA community. It seems like there's a brotherhood, a sisterhood that's in the MMA community that's unlike other sports. Not saying that other sports don't have that, but it seems like MMA community they have a sense of respect to one another.
Yeah, I think it's just the kind of just the history, just the way, like if you're taught by the right people. um I was taught by very respectful people in like all sides. So like I try to, I've always tried to go into different gyms and be very humble and respectful. I think that's the best way you carry yourself. I think a lot of mixed martial artists have the same mentality, so it just goes together. Now, there's guys out there that don't mess well with gyms, and
Mm,
there's the community is still small enough to where that everybody knows. So like if you end up being one of these guys that just goes in the gym to knock people out and stuff, people start knowing who you are. You know what I mean? Because there's not that many like that. Most of the time, like when you're gonna go somewhere to train, you can tell a friend, especially like if you've been in the game a long time. Hey, I'm gonna come do jiu-jitsu this weekend. Do you have any recommendations? Hey, I have a friend. They'll be waiting for you. Just go to this gym. You show up and it's like you knew each other for forever. And that's the beautiful thing about mixed martial arts. Now there's certain guys that don't carry themselves the same way, and it's just kind of the environment they were probably raised in. Some gyms ain't, not all gyms are the same. You know what I
yes,
mean?
sir.
So
Agreed. Agreed. So you retired in 2018, and you decided to start Top Shelf Management. What led you to start the business? Because you quote on your website, you got to fight to know the fight game.
I think I started my business, Top Shelf Sports Management Group, in 20. Well, I actually in 2020 I started. I thought it was 2019, but um, the reason why I started is I feel like when I was in the game, it was just sometimes you're just a number, and you can go through your whole career and you can get to like where you're already ready to be in the UFC. You already did all the work, and then a manager will just come and kind of just, hey, I'll sign you. I'll get you in the UFC for 20% or 15, whatever it is. And you don't really have a bond or a relationship. You just have somebody that put you in the UFC, kind of made a phone call for you for some money. Um,
Mhm.
what I did is I kind of last year I was able to be around a lot of up and comers. I got to interact with a lot of up and comers, matchmaking cards last year, um, and it kind of just one guy kind of brought it up to me before. I kind of blew it off. another guy brought it up, and then I just kind of started thinking about it, and now here we are. And my business is, I kind of go about things different. I want to build careers from the bottom, and I invest in up and comers that, don't get me wrong, they're very solid up and comers, but they're guys that I could build a relationship with and grow with, and not just come out of nowhere and try and swipe them up for a check. You know, it's,
Wow.
I want to put guys in the UFC. I want to change their lives, and that's kind of what Top Shelf Sports is built around.
Yes, sir. That's amazing relationship. So how much? So, um, question for you: when it comes to the business side, was it how much research, how much study, and how much planning did you have to do to make Top Shelf Management a success?
Not too much, man. Not too much. So, um, when I was fighting, I was managed pretty early by one of the top management companies in the world. I just won't name drop them right now, but I was managed by one of the top guys in the world. They're very famous. They have normal. Their rosters are a bunch of high caliber UFC champions, world champions, and other organizations, NFL athletes. You know, and it just, I was young and things didn't. I realized, like, I fought on TV one time. I learned some stuff about sponsorships and how all that works through them. Ended up parting ways with that company a couple years later. I got a lot closer to the UFC. I had been blowing off another company, which is a very big company as well. Finally signed with them right before my last fight, because I was supposed to be up for like the Contender Series next, and I got to learn about contracts and the same thing, sponsorships through them. So basically, I learned through being managed by these big companies, and a lot of things I learned about contracts were stuff that I signed that I had looked over when I was in the game, when I was putting my signature on things. Um, I've gotten to meet great attorneys over the years. I've gotten to meet agents. I've gone out of the way to speak with some of the best managers in the game. I still have a good relationship with the very first manager that signed me, Dave Arvello. I'll name drop him. He does a lot of great things for me. I'm grateful for that dude. He's down there in Florida now, and with another company. And I just learned through these guys. And some of them are willing to help and teach you and put you on game. Some of them don't want to put you on game. Me, I'm up and coming. But if you look at my roster for the past, I've been in business for about 6 months, 7 months, maybe. And go look at my roster, and like, I'm not playing. I got some of the best up and comers around, and it's just a matter of time. We just got to keep grinding, and we're all building together at the same time.
Yes, sir. What does success look like for Chris Lopez?
Success for me is managing guys full time and changing lives on the daily. For me, putting God, if I can have guys in the UFC and do this full time, that's success for me. Being able to call a regional kid that's been busting his butt and tell him, hey, it's time, we're going to the UFC, like, that is success for me. Um, Being able to make those calls one day, pretty soon. It's gonna happen for me. It's because if you look at my guys, they're babies in the game. I got guys that are 2-0, 3-0, 4-1, two. They're all youngsters, but they're all successful, and they're all gonna hit at the same time. And for me, success is just seeing that from the bottom. I want to keep building these dudes from the bottom and being able to see them, change their families' lives, buy houses, train full time, um, and live off of their craft, because not many guys are gonna make it,
Yeah.
and a lot of these dudes out there are gonna be heartbroken. I didn't make it. Um, I spent the last 3 years of my career hurt, and it was just, sometimes you get in denial about it, but either you have it or you don't. And I know what it takes. I know who has it and who don't. And like, if I'm riding with you, I'm gonna ride till the wheels fall off. And seeing my guys go to the UFC, that's success for me.
Yes,
and
sir.
other big shows too. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you talked about how you can tell who has it or who doesn't. How do you tell who has it or who doesn't for top shelf management?
I think that what I look for is I look for guys that are not only skilled, but um on top of being skilled, they can fight. And what I mean by that is you can be very skilled, but you can't. There can be a such thing as not being able to fight. And
Hmm.
what I mean by that is there's guys that are very good at beating people up, but there's some guys that they don't act very well when they start getting beat up and when
Hmm.
they got to overcome adversity. And what I look at is how do these youngsters, up and comers, how do these fighters? I look at them and I'm like, well, how do they deal with adversity? How's their character? I try to talk to them a little bit. I like to talk to their parents. I talk to their parents more sometimes, and it's uh just a filling out process. Where are they at? Are they training full time? Um, if they don't have a job, are they training 2, 3 times a day? Like, I want to know how bad they want it. And I get guys hit me up all the time to sign them, and I'm not trying to hurt feelings, but I have guys that ain't even my friends anymore that thought like I'm gonna just sign anybody and work with them, but that's just not what I'm doing over here. Um,
Yes.
I'm looking for guys that are good, um, and I'm looking for the dogs. And I want to like I'm not looking at guys that are undefeated. I have a kid like there's kids I want to build up. There's guys that are so out there that are mismanaged that could have great careers, but their coaches just or their teams just send them. That's what I'm here for. If you put your career in my hands, let's build it and let's do it the right way. You know.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, I spoke with a boxer. His name was Daniel Edward, the Haitian sensation,
Yeah.
and I asked him, "What does it take? What does he look like? What does he look for in a fighter, in a boxer? What is a key to success? Is it more so the mentality of the fighter, the skill of the fighter?" And he said it was the heart. How much does and you already answered in the way when it comes to adversity, but why is it that the heart matters so much in the fight game?
Because like there's you can easily fight and beat someone up and be comfortable like beating people up, right? But how are you as a fighter if whenever the tables turn and you don't know if you're gonna win? And you're in a fight where it is back and forth. One minute you're doing good, the next minute he's doing good. You know what I mean? If you don't have the heart to fight through and the mental to get through that, you're never gonna make it
Mm.
because you can fake it, and there's a lot of dudes that fake it down here on the regional levels. Like, um, like I believe that you should fight in a progression, right? And every time you fight, you should fight a better fighter. Okay, you
Wow.
get it, right? But there's guys down here that are just trying to front to get to that high level and just beat all these guys that ain't ever gonna beat nobody, and that's just not how you can do it. And you have to be tested, and you have to go through that on the regional levels, because if you don't go through it and you just beat people up down here and you go up there, there's always someone up there, and it sucks because when you get exposed like that, everybody sees it, and
Mm.
you can't change that. If someone
Wow.
sees you that you don't have heart and you quit and you give up, they think that you're weak. They think you have no heart, and anyone's gonna want to fight you. So
Mm.
you get what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's important. I mean, you can be very talented. Let's say like you're the best athlete in the world, but you're scared, right?
Yeah.
What does it matter then how good you are because you're not going to perform because you're scared to go out there and lose? Like you have to have a different mentality. You have to not care about that. You have to be willing to win at all costs. You
At
have
all
to,
costs.
yeah, you have to understand that you go into a cage, you might not come out the same. And there's a lot of dudes that act like they're about that, but they don't know if they're about that till they're in that situation. And if you watch fights closely, you see it all the time. Some guys will, some guys don't. And you'll never know, they'll never admit it, but it's in their brain. Makes sense?
Yes, it does. It does. Last question.
Mm.
Who are your top 5 boxers of all time and top 5 USC fighters of all time?
Man, that's hard. You're gonna keep me too long. I mean, I'm already going off long right now. I can't even do that. I not in any order. Not in any order. Can I do that?
Yo, absolutely.
All right. So top 5 boxers, not in any order. Of course, Mayweather, I'd have to say, is number one just because of what he's done. Um, Canelo is doing a
Yeah.
lot of good things. I think Oscar De La Hoya is one of the greatest. Um, Controversial athlete as well. Um,
Yeah.
Also, man, it's just hard. Manny Pacquiao's done some big things. It just depends on what you're looking at. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. I'm probably at 6 right now. You know what I mean? I'm probably being a little biased on De La Hoya too, but he's in the top 10 at least.
Respect.
As far as UFC fighters, I think that you have to put GSP as is up there. I still have him as a pound because he just never lost. John Jones is still, right there. It's just an argument. You know what I mean?
The controversy with John Jones. I love John. I think he's the GOAT. The
Yeah.
controversy is crazy.
Yeah, I think he is too, but it's just his controversy what shaped him, right? But no one got. I don't think anyone's gonna beat him. Like they're gonna have to wait till he gets old.
Exactly.
But I'll leave it at this. I'd say John Jones, GSP, Khabib, and the next two, man. I'm probably gonna have to go old school. I don't know. Help me out. Shit, who am I missing?
I'm thinking Silva. I mean, Silva's one of mine.
Yeah. I don't even know how I didn't say Anderson. Yeah, Anderson's one of mine, of course. See, I'm bad at this.
Let me see, and then gotta think of another one. See, but I like the small fighters in boxing.
Demetrius.
Yes, Demetrius Johnson, or some people say Henry Cejudo because he's the triple.
But see, there's too many. Too many. Give me top 10, and I'll be like, man, I think I can work with that.
I got you. Top 10. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to talk your ear off, man. I appreciate the interview.
No, I appreciate you, Chris. Really do, man. Where can people find you on social media?
Let me get this out because I messed this up last time with Adam Hunter. You can find me over on Instagram at Top Shelf Sports Group. You can also find me on Instagram at Chris Lopez MMA, Chris_Lopez MMA. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Chris. You have a blessed day.
Take it easy.